Singapore celebrates its 55th year of independence today. Living in Singapore is a clean, safe, and modern experience. But it was not this way even 40 or 50 years ago. And so tonight, as we celebrate, we have so much to be thankful for. We do not choose when to be born or where to be born. Those of us who are born in Singapore are now considered most fortunate. But it is not always this way. When I was born, we were under the British. We have just come out from Japanese occupation. And as I was growing up, the British decided to abandon Singapore. So we joined Malaysia. But it was a short-lived relationship, and we are thrust into independence. Somehow we are like nobody's child, a hot potato, left either to be overtaken by the communists who were rampant and active at the time, for us to swim or sink. But after 55 years, miracle of miracles, today Singapore is one of the best places to live in. And we have so much to be thankful for. First, we are thankful for life in Singapore. Singapore has one of the highest life expectancies of 84 years. I want to take this opportunity to apologize for a mistake in last Sunday's live streaming. I mentioned at my fourth point on the aging population that the mortality rate has gone up. This is why there is an increase of old people. I should say the life expectancy rate has gone up and not the mortality rate, which is exactly the opposite. I think it's good for me to correct this because this is on the internet and it will be there forever. So good to correct when you are informed of a mistake. And so I'm thankful on our National Day for life in Singapore. There are provisions for health, for old age, and for retirement. So most Singaporeans are well taken care of, even during the pandemic, where we have one of the lowest fatality rates. Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 6, verse 31 to verse 32. Therefore, don't be anxious, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? Or what will we be clothed? For the Gentiles seek after all these things. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. Singaporeans need to remember this because it is so easy to be overwhelmed by the good life. It is not enough to enjoy life because the physical life is just one dimension. Life, is it temporal or is it everlasting? We call life on earth temporal because we will not be here forever. It is the wise person that focuses on that which he cannot lose, rather than on temporal things that will be taken away. Luke chapter 16 verse 27, the rich man in the story of Lazarus and the rich man said to Abraham, I ask you, therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify to them, so that they won't also come to this place of torment. If we do not order our temporal life correctly, we will be like this rich man who enjoyed a good life but was not prepared for his everlasting destination. Another guy in Luke chapter 12 verse 19, I will tell my soul, so you have many goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you foolish one, tonight your soul is required of you. The things which you have prepared, whose will they be? So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God. How is our balance in the bank compared with the treasures that we have prepared for heaven? Galatians chapter 6 emphasizes, so then, as we have opportunity, let's do what is good towards all men, and especially towards those who are of the household of faith. Another thing that we are thankful for as Singaporeans is for the blessings that sometimes we take for granted. Singapore is a consumer society. There are more shops and malls in Singapore than most countries. Our homes are so full of material stuff. Wait till you have a baby, then we just buy and buy, or else doting relatives and friends will spoil our children. Then we end up by spending half of our life packing them and organizing the stuff that we accumulated. And if we cannot find them in the shops or at the malls, There's always places that we can go online, that we can order, and sometimes even next day delivery. Even when we are thankful for all the blessings, we should not be distracted with blessings that money cannot buy. James chapter 5 verse 1 tells us, "Come now, you rich, weep and howl, for your miseries are coming on you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and your silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be for a testimony against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up your treasures in the last days." Every time when we have too much stuff, I'm reminded of what James says. They become rusty or moth-eaten. And more than that, they become a testimony against you that you have not been good stewards of God. Let us be mindful what the Bible says about possessions. And happy is the person that has a few possessions and not be overwhelmed. Matthew chapter 6 verse 24 tells us that no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You can't serve both God and mammon. What is the thing that occupies your time? That is an indication of whom you serve. If you spend much time with God, then you serve God. But if you spend so much time with all your material stuff, then you serve your possessions. You cannot serve God with your possessions, but you can serve God with your possessions. Let me put this once again. You cannot serve God and possessions because these two are not compatible. But you can serve God with your possessions. Matthew chapter 6 verse 19, Jesus says, "Don't lay up treasures for yourself on earth, where moth," once again from James, moth and rust consume, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consume, and where thieves don't break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If God is your master, your heart will be there. If all this material stuff possesses you, then this is where you will spend your time. A third thing, as Singaporeans, we are thankful for health. It is internationally acknowledged that Singapore has one of the best health care systems. We became the gold standard in handling the pandemic with one of the lowest fatalities. Up to date, 27 has succumbed to COVID-19, and all of these are over 60 years old. There are many government programs for the elderly and low-income Singaporeans. The health system is more than able to meet whatever outbreak that there may be. The ICUs are not overwhelmed. There are plenty of healthcare people that continues to provide services in spite of the pandemic. Also, we find many government programs for the elderly and low-income Singaporeans. In fact, life expectancy is predicted to go up to 85.4 years in 2040. And though we enjoy good health and long life, more than the length of life, consider the breadth and the depth of life. Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 12, the preacher says, "For who knows what is good for man in life? All the days of his vain life, which is spent like a shadow. For who can tell a man what will be after him under the sun?" James tells us, whereas you don't know what your life will be like tomorrow. For what is a life? For you are a vapor that appears for a little time and vanishes away. Think about this for a while. Look back at your life. The years have passed swiftly, like the twinkling of an eye. The Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27, "Inasmuch as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that the judgment. A wise man prepares for his journey and is not caught unprepared." Death is a common denominator among us, rich or poor, clever or simple, black or white. We all are commonly classified together by death. The moment we're born, we die. And more than health, we need to look into everlasting life. Because 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, Paul tells us, "For bodily exercise has some value, but godliness has value in all things, having the promise of the life which is now, and of that which is to come." And we learn from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16. Therefore, we don't faint. And though our outward body is decaying, yet our inner man is renewed day by day. When God created man, He breathed into man the breath of life. We become eternal creatures, never to die, even in hell fire. Where do you choose to spend eternity? The outward man may perish, but the inward man is renewed day by day. Safety is the most basic need of all human beings. Imagine living in a place that your house may be robbed anytime. Worse still, a bomb may hit you without warning. Places that are ruled by gangsters and mafia. Nobody is safe. There is gun battle taking place anywhere. People can come into your house and just take you away without warning. And then you think about refugees, no home, hardly any food, trying to survive the treacherous seas as they escape from their war-torn country. There is no safety with many people in this world. But Singapore is one of the safest countries in the world, together with Japan and South Korea. You can feel that everything will be okay. That if you forgot your bag in the food court, that nobody will take it away. And if you own the shop, instead of keeping everything every night, tying a string around them will keep them safe. It is a blessing to live in a place that is safe. While we may be safe from physical harm, the Bible tells us that there is another kind of safety that we need to be aware of. In John chapter 17, Jesus says in verse 15, "My prayer is not that you take them out of this world, but that you protect them from the evil one." Peter tells us that the devil, like a roaring lion, is looking out for prey and trying to put us at a disadvantage. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober and self-controlled. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Also be warned. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. For when they are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them, like birth pranks on a pregnant woman, and they were in no way escaped. But you, brothers, are in darkness, that the day should overtake you like a thief. So very important for preparation for heaven. The rich but foolish farmer just praying for his needs on this earth. And that night, his soul was required of him. Life is unpredictable. The return of Jesus is uncertain as far as the date is concerned. It could be even tonight as we plan to go to bed or to have various activities that we want to do tomorrow. So important that we don't be too secure in our cocoon of peace and safety, because the only safety is that of heaven. I like the way Isaiah described safety in chapter 11, verse 6 and verse 8. The picture is the wolf will live with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the young goat. The calf, the young lion, and the fatted calf together, and the little child will lead them. The cow and the bear will graze. The young ones will lie together. The lion will eat straw like the ox. The nursing child will play near a cobra's hole, and the weaned child will put his hand on the viper's den. This kind of safety do not exist in this world. You put the wolf and the lamb, and suddenly two animals become one. They cannot coexist in this imperfect world. But in heaven, there will be peace and real safety. Finally, I want to say on our National Day that I'm thankful for the governors of Singapore. No government is perfect. We just had an election, and the web is so lively with opinions, accusations, and even fake news. Ultimately, it is up to every citizen to vote, as a system provides for fair and honest accounting. Unlike some countries, we have a concerned and efficient government. There is very little corruption, and whatever we pay in our taxes goes to the governing of Singapore. And because of this, things work in Singapore. The rubbish are cleared every day and incinerated. The streets are clean, safe, and lit. Hospitals and schools are among the best. And the Bible tells us to pray and support the government. Romans chapter 13 has much to tell the Christian about his duty to the government. Verse 1, let every soul be subjected to the higher authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those who exist are ordained by God. Verse 3, for rulers are not a terror to the good work, but to the evil. Do you desire to have no fear of the authority? Do that which is good, and you will have the praise from the same. For he is a servant of God to you for good. But if you do that which is evil, be afraid, for he doesn't bear the sword in vain. For he is a minister of God, and a avenger for wrath to him who does evil. Therefore, you need to be in subjection, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this reason, you also pay taxes, for they are ministers of God's service, attending continually on this very thing. And so tonight, as we celebrate our 55 years of independence, we are thankful for Singapore. Singapore was founded in 1819. The British ruled Singapore for about 144 years with very little progress, because they were serving themselves rather than the people. And in between, there was a short period of Japanese occupation. After we become self-governing, progress begins to take place, and the result is a new generation of blessings and good things that has been done because of the determination and because of the cooperation of the people. I'm grateful for many things: life, wealth, health, safety, and the government. Also for gospel missionaries that came over by steamship and shared the gospel, and the religious freedom that is so important, that help us to spread the gospel. And now we need to look for opportunities, for ways that we can be a blessing to others. Let's